Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Making Sense of It All. I'm your host Jesse Stakes, and this week on the show we have Jack Ducanis. Jack has led an incredibly successful career leading sales teams and even entire divisions for multiple Fortune 100 companies. And now, Jack has decided to give back and help educate those sales professionals that are following in his footsteps by opening his own private consulting and sales training firm. Jack spent 20 years of his career managing sales teams for ADP and Paychex, and then he made the choice to help two major banks build their own payroll service. He played key strategic roles in leadership and the development of their sales teams. He was also able to grow their revenue, increase the products and services that their clients used, as well as significantly improve on attrition rates among business and personal clients. He's created a lot of satisfied clients along the way, and he has the testimonials to prove it. Jack's a player coach if I've ever known one, and he makes all of those better professionals around him just for being on his team. Enjoy the conversation? Let's jump right into it. So, Jack, I've known you a long time, but for those of you in our audience who don't know you and who have not had the privilege of working with you, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background. What have you done for the last 30 years? And I'm not asking you to list it all, but you've really specialized in the payroll industry, correct?
That's correct. I spent majority, I would say, except for 2 years, all of my activities and work has been done in the payroll HR industry.
Well, and we're gonna walk through your career a little bit here, but before we do, I always kind of like to start at the beginning. What inspired you to get into sales and into leadership?
Well, first of all, I never aspired to be a salesperson. As a matter of fact, that was pretty low on the chain of what I thought I was going to be. I was all through high school and things. I thought I was going to be a math teacher. I enjoyed math. I was good at it. I liked numbers. And I liked the fact I had some great teachers. And I had a lot of teachers that made learning fun. And I could see myself doing that, and being something that could be a subject matter expert and pass that knowledge on. So that part of being a leader, was instinctive to me, I think. And I wanted to do that. And but then I think Calculus 2 got me.
I was going to say most sales guys I know are not good at math.
No, but I was for whatever reason. But then, really, Jesse, what drove me towards the sales aspect was that my sister married a salesman.
Okay.
And he was at a very young age. They had 2 children. He had a beautiful house, a nice car. And I grew up without a lot of those things. And that really intrigued me. So I had a couple conversations and we sat down and talked about teaching and we talked about sales. And he convinced me that it's not easy, but if you can do it and you have the personality and you have the drive, you can be very successful and you can make a lot of money. And the idea of being paid a variable pay, that really intrigued me too, because, going and getting paid for what you do and getting paid what you're worth. And that really started, let me tell you a quick story. During college years, I got a job in a shoe factory. My parents actually worked for the company, Endicott Johnson.
Okay.
And I got a job in the shoe factory, and I was put on a piecework line where you got paid for the more you did, the more you made. Now, I got a job sanding heels for shoes. Okay, they cut them and then you had to sand them. Now, I don't know if the quality of work was any good. Okay, but I could make more money by doing more things. And that was, to me, every day I went to work in a competitive spirit. And I was pretty competitive because I played high school basketball and things. So I was always competitive and I wanted to beat my record from the next day. But I found out at the end of the week, I was making more money than I thought I was going to make because I was willing to work hard. I was willing to stay the course. I didn't take a lot of breaks. And so I got my first introduction to variable pay.
Okay.
I liked that. Okay. So when I went to college, I changed to a business administration degree. And And I got my degree at Brockport State University in upstate New York and graduated from college and got out and realized what I wasn't. I wasn't a teacher. I wasn't a doctor. I wasn't a lawyer. So I said, well, here we go. I'm going to launch my sales career. And I applied to many, many places. And as you can imagine, just being out of college, I got a lot of rejection letters. Right?
Sure.
So I went to, how I got started is I went to the company that I was working in the shoe factories for and told them I want to get into sales. So I guess they liked me knew me. So they gave me a personality test and it came back and they said, holy smokes, you've got a sales acumen. You really do. Your personality is great. And we're going to give you a chance. And they had a in-stock division where the salespeople had like a state.
Okay.
The whole state and went from store to store and sold shoes. And so I had to wait my turn. So they put me in a shoe store to learn the lines. So I was Al Bundy for a few months. Okay. I was putting shoes on people. And then one day I got a call because a fellow in Wisconsin that was covering that territory had lost his leg it was amputated because of diabetes, and he was going to be out of work for quite a while. So they said, okay, Jack, we're going to shoot you out to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and you're going to take over this man's territory. All right. So I took my station wagon, loaded up the samples of the shoes, and I started selling to the shoe stores. And one thing that really happened, I was going to shoe stores and everybody was like, okay, how's Bob? How's he doing? He's doing great. And they're buying a lot of shoes. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. This is easy. This is something that's going to be a lot of fun. And at that point in time, I started to understand relationship building, which became part of my philosophy long term. They weren't buying Jack Ducanis. They could care less about me. They were buying a lot of shoes because of the loyalty that Bob had built up with them.
Right. They weren't even buying shoes at that point. They were buying Bob.
They were buying Bob, and they were just filling holes in their walls, okay, with the relationship they had with Bob. So I'm coming back with all these orders, and I'm like, I feel like Bernie Fife. I'm excited. He's excited. And but I did that. He never came back. He couldn't take it. So I worked there for a couple of years and did that. Then for personal reasons, I moved back to New York, and I was fortunate enough to get a job with ADP. So that's how I got into sales. And that's really how the whole thing started.
Well, and just for our audience sake, I mean, you went to work at ADP, which is a big deal. ADP is one of the largest companies in the United States. And at that time, you're kind of in the, not necessarily the infant stages, but you're in the beginning stages of where technology was starting to take hold within the payroll industry. Yes.
It was still a relatively new philosophy, at least in the area that I was working. I think there was only one salesperson in the territory before me. Mm-hmm. So I had a couple of years experience, and I knew the area very well from growing up there. So they gave me a chance, and boy, I think that first experience with sales without a whole lot of clients and a book of business, it was really a shock to the system to have to go out and start finding businesses and learn a product at the same time. And, so there was a lot to learn. And I was in an office by myself. I didn't work in an office with everybody else. I had two phones. I had one so I could call out and somebody could call me. So there was no technology. I would go out with a roll of dimes. Okay. And make long distance calls with a card. And, it was pretty, I didn't have any fax me over this or anything like that. So it was a learning experience, but I learned a lot about the sales technique, and thank God ADP had a great training program. And I've been fortunate my whole career. No matter where I went to work, the training was unbelievable. But that helped me a lot to get started, and I had a good mentor there, great boss. And so I was able to launch my career, but it was in the infantile stage for sure. They were just starting to get into tax filing, as a matter of fact. That was a brand new product for them, and they were struggling with that as well. So, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of technology involved in that.
Sure. Well, and you found success. It became something you were passionate about. But, to me, one of the most important parts about your story is you said it earlier, you learned to sell through relationships, and you started learning how it was important to not only, find that sale and find numbers for your company,
Yeah.
but what were you doing for your clients, and how are you generating more clients out of that?
Well, that's a great question, because there were three things that I think really formulated my process. Okay. That story with Bob, that helped a little bit, but I thought maybe that's unique. Okay. Because he had been there for 20 years. I had been in my territory for 2 months. Okay. Sure. I didn't have any of that, goodwill built up. But there's another story that when I was in my second or third year, and again, you have to understand, in those kind of sales that we were in, you were basically had to go every week and report your sales. Okay. So you weren't spending a whole lot of time with relationships. You were spending a lot of your time looking for new business. Right.
What'd you find?
Yeah. Okay. And you'd go back and you had to report your sales every week, and you would not really want to go there and say, I didn't make any sales. So you're constantly looking for new business. And I wasn't really building relationships with the clients. I was really just trying to sell new business. Right. Okay. And then one day, and this is an interesting piece of the puzzle, is the day after Thanksgiving, I was, I wasn't going to go to work. I mean, it's the day after Thanksgiving. There's a football on, right? And they know things that I do. But I had relatives in the house that were kind of annoying. And so I decided I was going to go in the office and shuffle papers or just do some things. And while I was in there, my courier walked in, or he'd come into the office, and what he did is he delivered the payrolls. Like you said, there was no technology. So client would process their payroll, either call it in, key it in, whatever they did. And then ADP would process the payroll in Syracuse and then bring it out down to Binghamton, to the southern tier, where my territory.
Right.
And his courier comes in one day and says, "Oh, you're not working today?" And I said, "Well, it's the day after Thanksgiving." And I said, "I'm just here shuffling papers and doing some paperwork." And I said, "Nobody's working anyway." And he says, "Well, what do you mean nobody's working? I have 25 payrolls to deliver today." And he says, "Let me tell you what, on my desk, I had a stack of these cards that were called Refer Friends, which you're
okay.
With now. That's become a very popular thing with people." And he said, "Why don't you do this? Why don't you ride around with me today and take your cards around and say hello and thank your client for being our client, because it's Thanksgiving, And I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. This isn't a sales manager. This isn't some kind of trained guru. This is my courier giving me sales advice, right? So I got in the truck with him, and we went around to the 25 deliveries. I shook hands. And what I realized, Jesse, is he was the relationship that they had with ADP. They were giving him cards, gifts. Okay. He was ADP to them, not me, because he had built relationships, solid relationships with that client. I handed out some cards. I asked them, I could really use some referrals. If you know anybody that can, use our services, I'd appreciate it. They're telling me like, "Hey, it's good to see you again." Okay. And they're hugging him.
Right.
And so I quickly realized that, you know what? Here's another example of somebody building a solid relationship, because they see him every week or every 2 weeks, like they were seeing Bob. And I'm saying, I got to start doing a better job building relationships with these customers, because they like people that show up.
No doubt.
People that they build relationships with, and it wasn't me. So I made a pointed effort that I'm going to start doing a little bit more. I'm not going to drive by my clients and duck like there's a drive-through shooting going on. I'm going to go in there and see how they're doing when I'm in the area and things. And then the final thing and this is, Jesse, you work for me, so I can't make up stories. Okay.
You could.
I finally I came in the office when there's a piece of envelope on my desk, and it's a testimonial letter from a customer that told me what a great job I did setting up his payroll. And I was so excited. Right?
Unsolicited, too. There's an unsolicited testimonial letter.
Just sent it to me, told me I did a great job and how much ADP's, right?
Yep.
So I put it in my binder because I'm so proud, all right, of my testimonial letter. So every time I went to a new presentation, I'm proudly pulling out my testimonial letter until I get to this one customer. And I show it to him, and he goes, oh, that's nice. How many customers you have? And I said, probably 200. And he said, and one's happy? Okay. He goes, you might want to get a few more of these just to make sure that,
Right.
okay, because you got one. And, and so I started laughing, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get more. All right. So then I started going out and started formulating a process where I'm going to build relationships with them. I'm going to go out, deliver when the first payroll is delivered. I'm going to make sure that I'm there. Right.
Yes, sir.
Over it with them. I'm going to come back in 30 days and go over their invoices and things with them. I'm going to make sure. And then I'm going to ask them, can you please give me one of these? Because a lot of people want to know who else is using us. And I want to be able to show that I've done a good job to help make them feel like I didn't want to hear, I want to think about it at the end of my presentations anymore. I wanted people to feel good about that they might be doing a good thing with ADP. So that's how a lot of this in my philosophy in sales got started and evolved.
Well, and you formulated a specific process that you used in your own sales career, and it really did. I mean, it's rocket fuel. It's something that helps you. It helps you not have to figure out what success is every single time, but actually have, just like every single great athlete, whether it's Michael Jordan or if it's Kobe Bryant or anybody else, people have a process to be great.
Absolutely do.
Now, one of the things that I think is very, very impressive here is that you took a successful sales process for yourself, and you have actually formulated it, and you actually you decided to take your career into leadership, and you decided. I think you told me one time you were smart enough to do it and dumb enough to take the job. Yeah. But sorry to steal your line, but you to really formulate to make this a formulary and actually put it out to other people and entrust that they could do it.
Right.
That had to feel a lot different than just doing it yourself and knowing that you could trust yourself to do it.
Yeah. And when I interviewed for that job, the fellow that was going to be my sales manager's manager, like the sales executive who interviewed me.
Yes, sir.
He asked me one question. He said, what's the one thing you can do to absolutely ensure your own success? And I'm all over the board. I work hard, play hard. I mean, I had no idea what the answer he was looking for. And he said, well, there's actually two, but the one thing you can do is surround yourself with good people. He said, don't need experience.
Right.
You got to teach that. Surround yourself with good people and create an environment where people work their hardest. Now, my first management job, it was a brand new program where all they were going to do was call on CPAs and their clients. You had to work on basically 100% referrals. You couldn't get a call in. You couldn't cold call. You just had to get referrals. You had to build relationships with accountants. I had a group of people, they were sales interns that were in the office. I went to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And they had never sold anything probably but Kool-Aid in front of their house. Okay. And I took this group and I had to pass knowledge on to them. So now I have that teacher be the subject matter expert.
Absolutely.
And they were going to sponge whatever I told them. Okay. Because they didn't have any process in place right now. As a matter of fact, this was their first sales job and this is my first management job. So we're all learning together. So I had to bring this whole philosophy together with them, but I had to, being a math teacher, I was going to go right to the common denominator. I told them, I said, look, there's 800 CPAs out there, firms. Okay. There's a lot more accountants than that. What we're going to do is we had to sell 85 units a person.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we're not going to try to sell everybody. Okay, there's a lot of people out there that aren't going to want to do business with us. There's a lot of CPAs that do payroll at the time and things. What you're going to do is look for 20 people that want to do business with us, 20 accountants. That's what I gave them their plan. And you're going to have each one of them give you 4 referrals this year. All right. So like I just said, I want you to get a top 20 list, get 4 referrals apiece. And then I want you to use those clients that they gave you to get more clients, to get referrals from the clients, because we could do that as well. So all I wanted them to do is focus on building a plan. And so what I did is I sent mailers out. I stuffed in the envelopes. We had client stuffers at that time. I sent out envelope with, who's your CPA? Because I wanted to get the client's accountant's names. I wanted to capture who's out there, right?
Absolutely.
And then on the bottom, I asked them one question: did your CPA refer you? And then the ones that said yes, that's where we started. I wasn't going to go and try and pull the teeth out of somebody that was already recommending a competitor or whatever. So we went to the ones that were already working with and had referred.
Right. That already believed in it.
I made them go to those clients, get testimonial letters, ask them how happy they were, and then take it to the accountant. And
that's wonderful.
That's how we started the relationship. Okay. And that's how I got them to buy into testimonial letters. And they were so surprised when people told them they were happy and how they did it. And the accountants were very impressed because that was the first time they had really gotten any feedback too. Right. And then we started getting referrals and we continued the process. 30, 60 days, we get a testimonial letter. We take it back to the accountant. Thought you'd like to see what happened to your client. Got anybody else? And we really started. Matter of fact, that team and myself, we were the sales team of the year. Because
that's awesome.
All we did was start building relationships with the people that put faith in us to do business. Because every job presentation we did, I told them this is a job interview. They're trying to hire you to be their payroll processor. You better go in there prepared. You better do a good job, and you better live up to your expectations. And they did. And that,
right.
But that's what we did. But I did learn, I did a lot of books on leadership. I mean, I'm trying to get all the information I could, right? I'm a new leader. Who are the best? So I read books on Dean Smith, Doc Wooden, Lou Holtz,
right,
Lombardi, right? And one common denominator stuck with me. They had a disciplined approach to what they were doing, and they were not going to vary off of it. And they said dedication to repetition, mark to the champion. So we repeated, we trained, and I wouldn't leave off this game plan of do a good needs analysis. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Deliver the first payroll. Do a 30, 60-day follow-up. Ask for testimonial letter. Ask your clients for referrals, right? Take the letter back to the CPA, or if you got a client referral, take it to, back to the person that referred you, thought you'd like to see what happened to your recommendation, who else? And we just started what we call building an endless chain of referrals, which is what I really am all about. No
doubt. Well, and to dive into that a little bit further, that's really how you've generated your business throughout your career. Whether it is somebody, if you're setting up a salesperson, if it's for yourself, or if you're consulting for somebody in today's world, right. You really have been able to show people how their clients can be incredibly powerful ways to generate more business for them.
Yes. Okay. And again, I think, especially today, we live in a Yelp world. Right? I can't go anywhere without, I went to my ophthalmologist the other day for an eye exam. I didn't even get in the door. I had to request for a Google review. Okay. I mean, it's all over the place. Everybody's looking for 5 stars. Everybody's looking for a recommendation, and again, it's nice to get those things. It's nice to get Google reviews. It's nice,
right.
That you did 5 stars. Okay. But now what are you going to do with it? Right.
Right. How do you take information and make it a tool that's actually right. usable to generate business?
I want to turn that very happy review that I just got into more business. Right. So I never get followed up on it. The example I use, Jesse, is DirecTV. Okay. Every month when I was not on direct bill, when I was getting a paper bill from DirecTV, they would send me a coupon for $100 if I would refer somebody.
Sure.
Right? Okay. How many referrals do you think I gave to DirecTV?
You tell me.
None. Okay. Because first of all, I didn't need $100. And how was I going to earn it? Was I going to start canvassing my neighborhood? Okay. Looking for leads for them?
Of course not.
No, but if they had said, are you satisfied with DirecTV? Which I was. I mean, I had the NFL ticket. That's why I got it. Right. So it worked. Okay. I wasn't crazy about the price, but then there's nothing unique about price. So again, I was satisfied with the product. But if they had come to me and said, are you happy with the service? I say, yeah, I'm very happy with the service. Okay, can you give us a few names of your neighbors in the neighborhood that might be a good candidate for DirecTV that's using Spectrum or somebody else? And give me a few names, and if I can use you as a reference, if they decide to use this, I'll give you $100. Well, I could easily give them a couple names of my neighbors and tell them I'm satisfied. Now, if they had asked me for a testimonial letter, that would have been even better, because then they would have had my written word to take someplace else. So you see how it is. I mean, it's one thing to say, here's a refer a friend. If you give me $25 or $100, but they're not going to do it for that. They're going to do it because of the relationship that they have with you, and they're going to want to help you if you've helped them. So asking for referrals is nice after you've earned them, but you have to know how to do it too. Not like just send out something and say, if you refer somebody, it's going to be $100. And we got to the point where we were no longer asking people who they knew. We were telling them who they knew. Right. Okay. One example would be, I was with a sales rep one time in the field. We went to a general practitioner doctor, and we did our normal thing, and we went through the process. And then she says, you got to ask for referrals, because I'm sitting right there. I'm going to,
You're on the spot.
Yeah. So she said, do you know anybody who can use our service? And the doctor goes, no, I can't think of anybody right now. And I said, well, maybe you can. If somebody came to you with a heart problem, who would you recommend? Do you know how long it took to spit out the name of a cardiologist?
5 seconds.
5 seconds. Okay. And then I got the name of the urologist and neurologist. Okay. They had a whole network of people. And not only did they know them, they referred business to these people.
Right. You got to ask it the right way.
Yeah. So you have to let them know who's the target. Right. And so they gave us the names, and we said, can we, they may be able to use our service. Can I use you as a reference? And they were happy, because they're happy with it. They said, fine. And we asked for the ultimate. Can you put in writing that we lived up to your expectations and what you like about the service? And then we used his letter to go to these ancillary doctors that he gave business to. And she was actually able to pick up a sale because of that. So that taught them that those people were out there. We just didn't know how to connect with them. So you don't ask them who they know, you tell them who they know.
Well, and you're not just generating a sale, you're generating trust, you're generating a network of people that they all believe in you, and it allows you to specialize in an industry or in a vertical as well. I want to switch gears just a little bit here, because your expertise is not just in sales and sales process. You've also helped organizations actually start businesses within their business or from scratch. You've helped 2 banks start payroll services.
Right.
You've helped individual business owners start their own payroll services. I'd like to talk a little bit about your operational knowledge as well, because you really are a total package when it comes to that industry.
Yeah, well, again, I learned a couple of things, but after I was 23 years working specifically with payroll companies, right? And then I was recruited to help start a payroll business again for a major bank, BB&T, and they didn't really have a process at all, and this was new to them, right? I mean, they were trying to start a payroll division. So what I brought to them was 23 years of experience, okay, of how to get it started, how to launch it. When I first got there, they were paying their sales reps not to sell. So trying to figure out how to do this right. And so I came there and I was able to bring the same process there, and we hired some people. As a matter of fact, I brought some people from my past with me, and actually was recruited by one of the people from my past that brought me in. So
funny how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. And so I brought some people from the payroll industry that wanted to get help with launch this program. And, what was really nice is I got a majority of my business in the payroll companies from referrals of clients, CPAs, the normal, some banks. Here, everything's referred because it was their job.
Right.
So now I'm working on total referrals. Okay. All right. And
in the candy store.
I mean, they had a job to do, right? And they were judged on it. So that made it kind of fun. And we went out there and we had tremendous success. I had salespeople that started where they were being paid not to sell, doing $500,000 in business in the first year. But again, I had a good sales manager Chris, that you're familiar with. And we had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, one of the things I learned from both banks, and we had, Wells Fargo too, where I went, tremendous bank. Again, tremendous training programs in all of these places. But one thing I did learn, Jesse, okay, that if you're going to work for any company or any industry, it better be the number one strategic line of business.
No doubt.
The success has to be predicated on that line of business doing really well, and unfortunately, both of those payroll divisions ended up being sold to a major competitor.
Well, and I think it's all a matter of perspective too, because I understand why you say unfortunately, but at the same time, I look at that. You drove a tremendous amount of revenue to their bottom line. Whether it might not have been in the way that you thought it was originally, but they still made money, a tremendous amount of money off of the efforts and off of the business that you built for them.
Yeah, what we were able to do is connect the dots, okay? Because they had insurance divisions, they had institutional trust, 401k divisions, right? Different lines of business that were not talking to each other. They weren't moving the money. They were just selling in silos. And what the payroll division did was able to have them move money.
Absolutely.
Start talking to each other. All right. All of a sudden, the insurance company and the retirement division were talking to each other. All right. They're sharing leads. We were sharing leads with all of them.
Right.
But now the dots were connected. So not only did payroll bring in a lot of money, it brought in a lot of ancillary money too. All right. But I think the cost of keeping those divisions up and running and competing, became exorbitant. And but whatever, we had a tremendous amount of success and we built a lot of careers, which was the most important thing to me. Okay?
No doubt. And what an experience.
Including yours.
Amen. I'm a positive attestation to that. But what an experience too. I mean, to really be able to go into a Fortune 100 company and start a business. I mean, it's, not many people get that opportunity, and you have, and it's given you a very unique set of skills and set of experiences that you've had over the last 30, 40 years that now in today's world, or in now with your career, now you're bringing this to your clients in the form of being a consultant that is you can actually help out other people while they're starting their businesses or while they're trying to get up and running. Tell our audience a little bit about what you're doing now.
Well, again, what I'm doing now, and I've been doing it very slowly and very selectively, okay, is I've been talking to a few companies, usually small companies in the industry, independent payroll providers and things. But I've also talked to a couple companies that don't have sales expertise. There's a lot of small businesses out there who they want to sell. They have a salesperson, but they don't have any process, right? And they don't know what to do. So any small to medium-sized company really needs to start to understand how you drive business, okay? And how in a very competitive world. I mean, if you take a look at just the payroll services industry, there's probably 1,000 companies that call themselves payroll service provider, right? HR consultant, and everybody's selling HR and everybody's selling the same, not only competing with other companies, but within their same platforms.
Right.
Okay. Like we used Evolution. There was a bunch of those out there, right? That are using that platform. And so it's very competitive, and you have a sales force, and, a lot of them have very large territories. Okay. Or no territories at all, where, somebody's assigned this huge geographic area and there's 10,000 prospects in it. Right. And I asked, some of this, well, what's your goal? I mean, how many of these clients do you have to sell in a year to be successful?
Sure.
They said 75. And I'm like, okay, so you got to sell 75 out of 10,000. All right. So That's pretty nice because 9,925 don't have to do anything with you to be successful. Now, how fast can you get to those 75? And
right.
The thing that we always did, there's 75 people looking for you right now. How fast can you get to them? And the fastest way to get to them is start getting referred to them. Okay? Because again, when you get referrals, closing percentages go up a lot when you walk in with somebody's recommendation and somebody's endorsement as to compared to going in there cold call, especially in this industry that we are in, Jesse. Okay? You're asking for a lot of authority. You're asking for power of attorney over bank accounts. You're asking for social security numbers. All right? A lot of employee information. And in today's world of fraud, okay, identity theft and things, you better have some kind of recommendation. And that's why we want to go in with clients. We want to go in with CPAs. And if other businesses, and it can apply to any small to medium-sized business that really doesn't have a sales executive or somebody really there to guide the sales team, usually it's the owner trying to teach somebody, how to be an effective salesperson. So I've had a couple of folks now that have, and again, I do it very selectively because I'm not going to go and do this for somebody that's not serious about really implementation. Okay.
Sure.
And so I'm going to work for referrals too. So if I'm going to do business with somebody, I want referrals. I want testimonials. I want to follow my own process. So I've had a couple opportunities to work with companies, and they're exciting. They're, great salespeople, good organizations. And, if I can pass some knowledge on and help salespeople in the company get established, then it's a win-win for me and for them.
No doubt. And I want to reiterate that for the audience as well. This isn't a process that's industry specific. This is a sales process that can be put where it fits or where it's needed.
Everybody's trying to sell their products. Everybody wants to, to gain more market share. I mean, that's you hear that every place. Okay. But one thing I did learn is that everything that's going to grow a business evolves around a satisfied client. What your clients are saying about you, what they're telling everybody else, especially, again, as we said, in a Yelp world, those are the things that are going to help bring business to your organization. Marketing is marketing, okay? Everybody does that, okay? But when your clients are telling everybody about how good you are, all right, and what you've done for them, and then if they will, not just give you a Google review, but if they'll put it in writing so that the salesperson, because Google's for the company, and salespeople are individual contributors, and they're the face of the company. And the first thing somebody buys, I learned this a long time ago, the first thing a company would buy is a salesperson. You're the one that makes the promises. It's like the theory of imprinting, right? When a baby duck is born, first thing it sees, he thinks it's his mother. Okay, well, the first thing that the client sees is the salesperson, and they made the promises. So it's up to them to build that relationship, get the endorsement of the clients, because they're going to do the presentations. And it's what the prospect sees that the person that they're dealing with has to offer. That's going to be a big determinant whether they decide to do business with you. So again, it's for any size business. It's for anybody that's looking that needs sales expertise. Okay. And again, I don't know a lot about a lot, but I know this game. I've been practicing and doing this for 30 years.
No doubt. Jack, if people want to learn more about you and if they'd like to get in touch with you, if this is something that's, they're interested in, how can they find you?
Well, I guess the best way to do it is to email me. It's jackducanis11@gmail.com. And if they're interested in finding out more, I'd be happy to have a chat with them.
Excellent. Jack, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to have you on again soon. You got a lot to say, and there's a tremendous amount that people can learn from you. So we hope to have you on again for future episodes.
Thanks, Jesse. It's good to be with you.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show for today. I really enjoyed having Jack on. He's such an incredible resource for organizations and for salespeople. I know he mentioned it at the tail end of the interview, but if you're interested in having a conversation and seeing if it would make sense to do something together, you can reach him at jackducanis11@gmail.com. He's also a great follow on LinkedIn. I look forward to having Jack back on the show to discuss so many of the things that we only got to scratch the surface of today. Jack, thanks for helping me and my audience make sense of it all. I'm your host, Jesse Stakes, and we'll catch you guys next time.